Hi guys, and welcome back to Benton video, where today I'm going to talk to you about getting started in having a 4K setup. So TV, player, sound, that can be soundbar or surround sound. Yes, so you can do too much research and get in your own head about things like this. So do research yourself, obviously, look at reviews and whatnot. But a lot of the terms and stuff can get you in over your head. If you're not sure, go look at reviews on YouTube. So for UK based, I'd say HDTV Test, Vincent Tio. I mean, he's the best overall, full stop. But some of the TVs aren't available in America if you're watching this from America. So if you want a TV that's available in America, that Vincent hasn't done, US based one, I'd say Digital Trends seem to do the best. That's from my experience. There could be someone out there better. I don't think there is. Quantum TV, he seems to think he's got better than calibration settings, which I don't see how. But his knowledge is pretty good, but he's way too aggy about other YouTube content creators, which puts me off him big time. But you can always check him out, I suppose. I don't know, it's up to you. So for just the basics, which I'm going to help you with, obviously it's up to you to research better, so don't blame me if you get shit telly. Is you want, basically there's 3 types of TV now, it used to be 2, that were worth getting, and that's OLED and a full array TV, so also known as FALD. So OLED can do perfect blacks and will have infinite contrast because basically the pixels can turn off, so you get perfect blacks. With a full array, you it depends on the full array you get, but you will get a slight bit of blooming, which is like a little halo around things. If there's a really dark background, it's quite bright. My TV is a full array TV, and like, I love it. The only time I didn't love it was when I watched 2001 Space Odyssey, and there was a lovely night sky, well, space I suppose, it was a night sky in space, and there was just a little image and there was this massive bit of blooming. I've never experienced that before or since, but it upsets too strong a word, but you know what I mean, it just made me think, eh. So consider that if blooming will upset you that much that you want to spend the extra money and get OLED. The third one, which is the new kid on the block, which is QD OLED, which is quantum dot OLED. OLED stands for organic light emitting diode, which obviously is the LED part, light emitting diode. Apparently they're the shit. I don't know enough about them, but basically they can go brighter than a lot of FALDs, but obviously have the perfect blacks of OLED. I don't know what colour reproduction's like on them though, but I imagine they're pretty good. So my setup is a Sony XH95 or X950H, depending on what country you're from. Can't remember which one around. I think XH95 is UK. It's the 49-inch model because I have quite a small living room, but that actually gives me better contrast than the other sizes in that range of them, I think 85, because it doesn't have this layer over the top. So they put on the 55, 65, 75 models, they've got, I think it's called like X layer or something like that, X wide angle. So I don't know what I'm doing, but it's basically from angles. So it's dead on, looks great, but from angles it will look better than mine. I watch head on, so it doesn't matter to me. But the extra wide angle layer basically lowers the contrast, so mine has better contrast. That's what I'm saying. I don't know, I'm rambling. Mine's better than the 55-inch. So for my player, I have the Panasonic UB820, which is kind of known as one of the best players you can have. There is the UB9000, but I think the internals are all identical. It's just beautiful on the outside, where mine looks like shit. But quality wise, you ain't getting better than the UB820 pretty much for a reasonable price. I got mine used actually for £200. I think new the 300, but that might drop or go up, I don't know. Depends. It's a mad market really at the moment. That does HDR10 Plus and Dolby Vision, but I only have Dolby Vision because I've got a Sony TV. But it's brilliant. So for my sound, purists will call it shit. I call it good. But it's the it's the Sonos Beam Gen 2, which is just a soundbar, yay big, looks nice though. It doesn't have any up-firing speakers, but it has simulated Atmos, which is normally pretty bad, but it's actually quite good on the Sonos Beam. It's not fantastic. Obviously, up-firing speakers or even ceiling speakers would be better. Excuse me, would be better, but it does a really good job because I'm not too far away from it either, so maybe that helps. But what does also help is that I've got the Sonos ones as rear speakers. So I've got one there, and they are very good. And I've got the Sonos Sub Gen 3, and for its size, as far as I'm aware, you ain't getting a better sub than that. Obviously, when you get bigger, they can go a lot deeper, but I'm in a semi-detached house, which means my wall joins the neighbours, so I can't have it too loud anyway, so I usually have it on either 0 if they're not in, or -3 or -5 depending on the film. So when researching your TV, a few things to look at are what nits it can get to. Nits is basically the brightness of a TV. For HDR, for correct HDR at least, you want it to be a minimum of 600 brightness, which I think all OLEDs now do. Not sure about the cheap LG one, but generally all OLEDs now go 600 above 600. Most full arrays do. It's the ones like direct lit and edge lit, which you need to avoid full stop. That seems to be quite dull. The reason why you avoid them is that it can't do HDR because all the lights are just around the edge for edge lit. So the middle is going to obviously be darker, and it's just wank. You don't want it. Direct lit is slightly better than edge lit, which means there is lights all behind, but it hasn't got full array local dimming like a foul does. There's two formats of dynamic, I think it is, HDR. That is HDR10 Plus and Dolby Vision. Dolby Vision seems to be the market leader at the moment, which means it'll probably win the wars if it's the same as Blu-ray and HD, DVD, Betamax and VHS if you're old enough to remember. Yeah, I think Samsung are the only TV brand that only do HDR10 Plus. There's a few that do both HDR10 Plus and Dolby Vision, such as TCL, Hisense, I think Panasonic, possibly. Sony and LG tend to just be Dolby Vision only. I say tend to, they're only Dolby Vision. As far as I'm aware, there's not much difference between the two products. It's just what your TV can do. They both use, no, sorry, they don't use the HDR10, which is the standard HDR10. So if you're watching something kind of Netflix that's in Dolby Vision, but you've got a Samsung TV, it will just display as HDR10. Same thing with if I'm using my player and it's got HDR10 on the 4K disc, my TV will only display it as HDR10, which is a non-dynamic. Which basically means I think the TV will set it its lowest nit setting and its highest nit setting, and it'll just go through the film like that. With dynamic ones, it does it scene by scene or even shot by shot, which obviously means you get better brightness in certain scenes and better darkness in other scenes instead of them setting like basically compressing, I think. I'm going to get someone in the comments telling me I don't know what I'm talking about, and you're kind of right, but I know enough to help tell you to look for someone else. So fouled, I keep saying full array, but fouled is full array local dimming, and that basically means it will have brighter lights where it needs to be bright, and it will turn the lights off or down, dim them as far as it can go for the darks. And my telly can do pretty dark blacks, to be fair. It's decent, but there are tellies that are crap at it, like my old telly. I don't think I ever saw black, it was always dark grey. The order you should do it, personally, you can disagree, I have no problem with that, but the order you should do it personally is telly, sound, player. Telly, sound, player. So congratulations, you've now bought your lovely new TV that I helped you get. Nice one. Sounds like shit though. You can get the ones that have the nicer speakers in. They will do for people that don't care. But if you're watching this, you do care. So, you 3 options basically are soundbar, what I've got, which is like a wireless setup, and purists will hate it, or what the purists will like is a full setup with a receiver. So soundbars have their place. I know a lot of people say they don't, but they do. If you live in an apartment, flat, whatever, and, well, simply you can't afford a full setup, they work perfectly. There are better ones and there are crap ones. Crap ones generally will sound better than your telly, but I think it's not worth the money. I'd say invest a little bit more to get one that does have upward firing speakers and are capable of Atmos and DTS X, if possible. I don't know enough about soundbars to go further into that, so research them. It's pretty easy to research now with the internet, obviously, so do it. What I've done is the Sonos setup, and I really rate that. It's not cheap at all. In fact, it's stupidly expensive for what it is. But for what I needed, it was perfect. Couldn't have all the wires going around, and I'd never be happy with my setup if I was buying individual speakers all the time. I'd be constantly gutted that I didn't buy that one. And then after a few weeks of buying that one, I'd go, oh no, that's the one I should have got, etc, etc. So for me, in my small setup, Sonos, kind of all in one, you know, got your soundbar, which it can be used just as a soundbar. I do rate that as a soundbar, actually. Going back to the soundbar thing, Sonos Beam Gen 2, Fandabidoza. But that works as your front speaker and your middle speaker and your 2 front speakers. Then you can buy the surrounds, which you can use a couple of different ones that they sell, the 5s, the 1s, the 1SLs, which I should have got, but I got the 1s. And then the sub, which in my setup I don't really need, but I like having. Bigger rooms, you may need it, you may need 2. I don't know what setup you need 2 in, but you may need it. And then the full setup is a receiver, which obviously you'd like to be able to do Dolby Atmos and DTS X, even if you haven't got the speakers for it yet. And then you can build gradually, like I'd say start with the stereo sound, then get your center channel, then do your rears, then a sub, then ceiling or up firing speakers, which you can buy that will sit on top of your stereo speakers. Quick note, Sonos has only just introduced support for DTS, but that as far as it goes, it doesn't do DTS-X. Don't know why. I wouldn't even mind paying a small subscription fee to have access to it, because a few discs have it, like Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. I feel like they would benefit from obviously having the DTS-X sound, which I can't get. I can only get DTS 7.1. That doesn't include the height channels. Still sounds great though. So now you're watching your Netflix shows, your Disney Plus shows in full surround, and you're loving it. You're going, this quality isn't quite good enough for me. Let's have a look. I'm only getting 15 megabytes per second on this 4K film. That ain't good enough. I'm going to buy a player. So, a dedicated player, I rate. I've got the UB820 Panasonic. That does Dolby Vision and HDR10 Plus, where you get the cheaper model. I think you can get it used for about 100 quid now, so it might be worth it, is the UB420, but I don't think that does Dolby Vision. I think that only does standard HDR10, which for most people will be fine. But you can get the PS5. It still does only do HDR10, but obviously if you like gaming, it's worth doubling up, because then obviously you can play your games and then flick on, I don't know, fucking Dow rates. Oh, they don't have 4K. I can't think of any fucking 4K films now. Jurassic Park again. We love Jurassic Park here, so I'll say that again. fucking American Werewolf in London. You want to watch that in 4K on high quality disc, not on Netflix or whatever it's on, Prime possibly. Put it on your PlayStation. The reason I say PS5 and not Xbox is because Xbox sucks, losers. No, I don't give a shit. Because the Xbox Series X, I think it is, struggles with BD100 discs. I don't know what the exact problem is, but apparently that happens on a few of the cheaper players as well, but I don't know which model numbers. I just know that the Xbox does suffer with it, which has stopped a few discs being put on BD100s, which means it's 100 gigabytes. They seem to try to squeeze this onto BD66s, 66 gigabytes. Those kind of films are getting anywhere between 60 to 80 megabytes per second, and that's obviously including the sound as well, so you get better sound from disc than you do streaming, just because streaming they compress it so much that it, I mean, you still get decent sound. I know that a lot of people say it sounds shit. I don't know what voice that is, but that's what people say. It sounds alright through that. You might have to turn it up a little bit louder and it's not as dynamic, but it's alright. But yeah, the sound you're getting from the 4K disc should be a lot better. Yeah, there's your setup. Whack a bit of Call of Duty on, and then watch Heat 4K. And watch my Heat 4K review before you buy it, because you may not want to buy it. But as a film, it's pretty good, so maybe you do want to buy it. Don't know what the fuck I'm talking about anymore. This has gone on way too long. I was trying to be helpful, and I think I've just hindered everyone. And I'm sorry. And as always, guys, I will never ask you to like or subscribe. Thanks for watching.